I want to take this thought of agency to action. So Megan and I have this phrase of, you can't just run from something. You have to run to something, because ultimately what you behold, you become.
Yep.
And I base it out of like 2 Corinthians 3:17. As we behold the glory of the Lord, we're transformed from one degree of glory to another. And also Matthew 6, the eye is the lamp of the body. If the eye is healthy, the whole body will be healthy. But if the eye is unhealthy, so forth. What actions can people take today to start transforming their lives from trauma to triumph?
Well, I think first, right, if you're not walking with God, if you've not surrendered your life to the sovereign King, then that's, to me, that's step number one. I mean, there is the world has a lot of opinions about what healthy looks like. The world has a lot of opinions about self-care and what you deserve. And I unfortunately think a lot of them run contrary to where I have found health. And I think we can oftentimes obsess over our problems instead of just laying them in front of God. And so I would say like twofold. Like one, like if you're curious about the faith and you haven't quite made a decision, like let me tell you, like Jesus wants to take your burdens. And he, like, I mean, first off, like you got to recognize, I think this comes back to like the acceptance part, is that like it's easy to accept like other people harming me when I realize that I'm a sinner and I've offended God. And then accepting the gift of Jesus Christ, for my salvation. And then I think from that, right, like then I've got an opportunity to like just fully surrender my life to him and say like, God, I don't know what this looks like going forward, but my life is yours. And like all of my desires and my wants and the ideas and the plans that I had for my life, like I want those to like fall in line with like what your desire for me would be. I want to just like, kill that old man and crucify him. And I want to move forward now, like just loving and following you. I think that's first, hands down. I think for some people, like it might be professional counseling. Like if they're wrestling with a lot of trauma and hurt and brokenness, I had to spend years going through counseling. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it shows weakness by any means. And for some people, like may not need it. It was really, really necessary for me. I think too, just because it helps me put words to a lot of the things that I'm feeling. It helped me increase my like emotional intelligence, which is hugely helpful in my marriage. Right. Especially coming from like a broken background where I didn't have good good like marital skills or practices, right? Like in front of me. And so like we're crafting those on our own. And guess what? Like sometimes I screw up and sometimes I get frustrated and sometimes I get angry. Um, but and yeah, but I don't have all this emotional baggage to sort through. Like when Olivia and I are having an issue and we're sorting through that, um, she doesn't have the like unpleasant task of dealing with all of that garbage, because it's been sorted through. Um, I, as far as other actions, man, I mean, I really think those are big ones for me. Um, Thinking about this conversation, I was just like, this one doesn't necessarily fall in action so much. Maybe it falls in belief. Uh, I think if you're in the process of looking for a relationship and you're looking for a relationship because you think somehow it's going to correct your, your relationship with your parents, or like, I'm gonna go like make a family that I never had. I think people need to be careful with this idea that, a relationship is not going to complete you. A relationship isn't going to heal you, right? Like, I, I really think part of the reason why we have a blessed marriage is because I dealt with a lot of that crap. before I got into it. I'm not saying that's the be all end all. I'm just saying like, because I think people can come into relationships with baggage and have perfectly healthy relationships as they sort through those. No one's perfect. God continues to grow us and sanctify us. I think it's coming into the relationship with the belief that like my family was broken, but like, but this relationship is going to complete me. Like, I really think you got to find wholeness before you enter there.
100%. Megan and I on our YouTube channel about healthy dating, healthy marriage have been preaching that you don't want to date for wholeness,
Hmm.
but from wholeness. You don't want to date for love, but from love. And I think there's this narrative in culture, the Christian and secular dating realm, that I'm going to date to be made whole. But I think in your story arc, you went from no family to forming a family. And that idea that we're orphans, sin, orphans, separated from God, but Jesus died on the cross, adopts
Yeah.
us into the family of God. So if we get that settled as our foundation before we form a family, it's
Yeah.
so
No,
critical.
that's totally right, man. And then I think there just were a lot of little things from an action perspective. Like, we got like really, really, really good at budgeting. That was something that mattered. I had nobody teach me financial skills growing up. And money problems, like those cause like serious marital stress and problems, right? And so I think like that was something. I said already said counseling, like, um, and then I think really just having um, good, genuine friendships, which I wasn't able to form. I formed a ton of like just shallow friendships, partly because like again I moved around a lot, so I got really good at making friends quickly, but then being ready to shut those relationships down because I know that I'm leaving in 4 months or 5 months. Uh, and so I had a really good like facade, and so learning how to form like honest, just genuine, deep relationships and being vulnerable. Um, well, and we were having this conversation earlier, right, about like the fear of failure. Um, and it's like really getting over the fear of hurt. Um, and just saying like, yeah, man, like good things only come when we take risks. And that comes like with our finances and with our relationships, and like professionally, all of these things. Like if you're not taking risks, if you're shutting things up and you're not exposing them to um, if you're not exposing them to like potential harm, right? They're not going to grow. So